Have you ever felt alone? Have you ever been afraid of solitude, as if it were a prison rather than a path to peace? Most of us fear being alone, not because we enjoy the company of others, but because we are terrified of facing ourselves. But what if I told you that solitude is not suffering? What if you could learn to embrace it, not with sadness, but with strength? This is where Stoicism, an ancient philosophy of resilience, teaches us something invaluable. The secret to happiness is not found in others, but within yourself. Today, we explore how to be happy alone, how to let go, and how to master the art of solitude. Number 1. The fear of being alone. There comes a moment when the noise fades, when the laughter of friends and the warmth of companionship dissolve into the silence of an empty room. The world outside keeps moving. Cars pass by, people talk, lovers walk hand in hand. But you sit alone, staring at the ceiling, scrolling through your phone, waiting for a message that never comes. It's in that silence that the fear creeps in. A voice whispers, "What if this is it? What if no one ever truly cares? What if I am destined to be alone forever?" This fear is not new, it's ancient, woven deep into the human experience. We are social creatures, born into tribes, raised in families, conditioned to believe that happiness is something we find in the eyes of another. From childhood, we were taught that love is what makes life meaningful, that friendships define our worth, that being alone is something to be pitied, avoided, or worse, fixed. And so we spend our lives running, desperately seeking connection, fearing the day when we might have to sit in a room with nothing but our own thoughts. Because deep down, we don't fear solitude. We fear facing who we are when no one is watching. The Stoics, however, saw things differently. They did not believe in escaping loneliness through attachment to others. Instead, they believed in conquering it through self-sufficiency. Seneca once wrote, "The man who is truly happy is the one who needs nothing from others." Imagine that for a moment, a happiness that is not dependent on a text from a friend, a like on social media, or a lover's embrace. Imagine being content not because someone reassured you, but because you reassured yourself. This is the freedom Stoicism offers. But to reach this place, you must be willing to go through the fire. You must sit in the silence you once feared. You must let go of the idea that being alone means being unloved. Because the truth is, loneliness is not the absence of others. It is the absence of connection with yourself. How can you expect to be loved if you do not love your own company? How can you find peace in another if you have not yet made peace with your own mind? Think about the most painful moments of your life. Wasn't it true that even when you were surrounded by people, you still felt alone? That's because loneliness is not cured by presence. It is cured by perspective. The Stoics understood this well. Epictetus taught that the external world is beyond our control, but our thoughts are ours to command. If you believe solitude is suffering, then it will be. But if you see it as an opportunity to grow, to reflect, to become stronger, then it transforms into something sacred. So, what does it mean to embrace solitude? It means learning to enjoy your own presence. It means sitting in silence without reaching for distractions. It means taking yourself on walks, reading books that expand your mind, journaling your deepest thoughts, and realizing that your own company is enough. It means understanding that love, friendship, and companionship are beautiful, but they are not the foundation of your existence. You were not born to fill the empty spaces in someone else's life. You were born to be whole on your own. And here's the paradox. The moment you no longer fear being alone, the world starts to open up to you. Relationships become deeper, not because you need them, but because you choose them. Love becomes richer, not because it fills a void, but because it adds to an already full life. You stop clinging, stop begging, stop fearing. You walk into a room alone, and instead of feeling invisible, you radiate a quiet confidence, because you have learned the greatest lesson of all: you are enough. The fear of being alone is a lie. It is a shadow cast by a society that profits off your insecurities. But when you face it, when you embrace solitude instead of running from it, you will realize that you were never truly alone to begin with. You always had yourself, and that is more than enough. Number 2, why attachment leads to suffering. Have you ever wondered why the things we cling to the most often bring us the greatest suffering? We attach ourselves to people, outcomes, and even identities, believing they define us, only to find that when they slip away, we are left with pain, regret, and emptiness. But what if I told you that attachment itself is the root of this suffering, and that true happiness, real, lasting peace, comes from letting go? The Stoics understood this deeply. They taught that nothing truly belongs to us, not even our own bodies, let alone the people or possessions we claim as ours. Everything is borrowed, temporary, fleeting. Epictetus said, "Never say about anything, 'I have lost it,' but instead, 'I have given it back.'" This shift in thinking is the key to freedom. When we detach, we don't stop caring, we simply stop clinging. We accept life as it comes, and we release it as it goes. Imagine holding a handful of sand. If you grip it tightly, trying to keep every grain, it slips through your fingers. But if you keep your hand open, the sand rests there gently. This is the nature of life. The tighter we hold, the more we lose. We attach ourselves to love, expecting it to last forever. But love is not ownership. We attach ourselves to success, fearing failure. But failure is inevitable at times. We attach ourselves to the idea of who we should be, and in doing so, we ignore who we are becoming. Think about the relationships in your life. Have you ever been afraid of losing someone so much that you suffocated them with your need? Love turns into possession. Possession turns into control, and control destroys love. The irony is, the more we try to hold on to something, the more we push it away. The solution? Love freely. Give without expectation. Let people come and go as they will. When you detach from the illusion of permanence, love becomes pure, no longer weighed down by fear. And then there's the attachment to outcomes. We plan, we dream, we set goals, expecting life to follow our script. But when it doesn't, we suffer. The Stoics remind us, you have power over your mind, not external events. Realize this, and you will find strength. We don't control the world, we only control our response to it. Letting go of attachment to outcomes doesn't mean we stop striving. It means we do our best and accept whatever comes. If we win, we are grateful. If we lose, we are still grateful. For the lesson, for the experience, for the chance to grow. But the hardest attachment to release is our attachment to self. We build an identity, our name, our status, our beliefs, thinking these things define us. But who are we without them? The Stoics would say, you are not your job. You are not your achievements. You are not even your thoughts. You are something deeper. And when you stop identifying with the things that can be taken away, you become unbreakable. Letting go is not about giving up. It is about freeing yourself. It is about moving through life like a river, flowing, adapting, accepting. If we resist, we suffer. If we embrace impermanence, we find peace. Happiness is not found in holding on. It is found in learning to let go. So today, take a deep breath. Whatever you're holding on to, whatever fear, expectation, or need that is weighing you down, let it go. Not because you don't care, but because you care enough to live free. Because happiness is not in attachment. It is in knowing that nothing was ever truly ours to keep. Number 3. How to be happy alone, the Stoic way. Happiness is not found in people, possessions, or external circumstances. It is cultivated from within. This is one of the greatest teachings of Stoicism, and it holds even more power when we talk about being happy alone. In a world that constantly tells us we need someone to complete us, that solitude is a sign of emptiness. Stoicism offers a radical but liberating truth. You are already whole. You do not need validation from others to live a meaningful, fulfilled life. You only need mastery over your own mind. Picture the great Stoic philosopher Epictetus, a former slave who had every reason to feel broken. Yet he found immense inner peace because he understood that true happiness is independent of external conditions. He taught that suffering comes from our attachments, our expectations, our desperate need for control over things that are simply not ours to control. The moment we release this illusion, we step into freedom. And with that freedom comes happiness. Yes, even when we are alone. So, what does it truly mean to be happy alone? It begins with shifting our mindset. Instead of seeing solitude as loneliness, we must see it as an opportunity, a time to build, to reflect, to grow. The Stoics believed that self-sufficiency is the key to peace. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor, wrote in Meditations that we must retreat into ourselves, for within us is a sanctuary that no external force can touch. This means that when you are alone, you are not abandoned. You are with the most important person in your life, yourself. Imagine waking up with no urgent need to check your phone, no anxiety about someone else's approval, no fear of being left behind. Imagine moving through life without the desperate craving for external affection or validation. That is what Stoic happiness looks like. It is the ability to enjoy your own company, to engage with life fully, even in silence, even in solitude. It is the realization that being alone is not a punishment, but a privilege, a chance to live on your own terms, without distraction, without compromise. But how do we reach this state? It starts with practicing detachment. Not in a cold, emotionless way, but in the sense of recognizing that everything in life is fleeting. People, relationships, circumstances. If we cling to things that are destined to change, we set ourselves up for suffering. Seneca warned against this when he said, "He suffers more than necessary, who suffers before it is necessary." Most of our pain comes not from reality, but from our resistance to it. If we embrace the impermanence of life, we free ourselves from the fear of being alone. We understand that nothing and no one truly belongs to us. We walk lighter. Another key to happiness in solitude is self-discipline. When we lack external validation, we must create our own structure. We must wake up with purpose, pursue knowledge, challenge ourselves, and cultivate a deep sense of meaning. The Stoics did not sit idle. They trained their minds and bodies. They read, they wrote, they engaged with the world on their own terms. A life lived alone does not mean a life without purpose. In fact, some of the most profound human achievements were made in solitude. Take the example of Diogenes, the Cynic philosopher who took self-sufficiency to an extreme. He rejected society's artificial desires and lived in a barrel, proving that happiness is not found in luxury or company, but in freedom from need. Now you don't have to live in a barrel, but you can strip away what is unnecessary. The less you depend on others for your joy, the more unshakable your happiness becomes. Finally, to be happy alone, you must learn to love yourself, not in a superficial, self-indulgent way, but in the deepest, most Stoic sense, by becoming someone you respect. When you live according to your values, when you discipline your thoughts, when you embrace discomfort as a path to growth, you build a self that does not need others to feel complete. you become whole within yourself. The world will tell you that being alone is something to fear, that if you are not surrounded by people, you are missing out. But Stoicism teaches us otherwise. It teaches us that solitude is not a curse, but a gift. That true happiness is not found in others, but in mastering the art of being content with yourself. So let go. Let go of the need for approval, the fear of being alone, the illusion that happiness exists outside of you. Step into solitude, not with sadness, but with strength. Because when you learn to be happy alone, you become untouchable, unbreakable, free. Number 4, the beauty of letting go. There's a silent, unspoken power in the act of letting go, one that we often overlook, caught up in the whirlwinds of life, clinging to things and people as though they define us. But what if I told you that true freedom, true happiness, lies not in the things we hold on to, but in our ability to release them? Picture for a moment a child grasping onto a beautiful butterfly. In their eagerness to keep it close, they only suffocate its fragile wings, stripping away its freedom, its essence. But open those hands, set it free, and it dances joyfully, carried by the wind, alive, vibrant. We too are like that child, often holding too tightly to the things we cherish, not realizing that by doing so, we may be suffocating them and ourselves. The Stoics, wise as they were, understood the impermanence of life. They saw the world not as a series of possessions or titles, but as a fleeting moment in time, a gift that could be taken away at any instant. They embraced the idea of amor fati, the love of one's fate, accepting everything that happens, the good and the bad, as necessary parts of a larger, unknowable design. When we learn to let go, we are, in essence, embracing this philosophy. We stop resisting the flow of life and start flowing with it. We stop trying to control the uncontrollable and begin to find peace in the chaos. Consider the waves of the ocean. They rise, they crash, and they retreat, only to rise again. They do not cling to the shore, nor do they mourn the sands they leave behind. They understand that their power lies in their rhythm, their constant motion. Similarly, in our lives, holding on too tightly can create a resistance that breaks us. We hold on to past hurts, to broken relationships, to unfulfilled dreams, believing that by doing so, we maintain control. But control is an illusion. As Marcus Aurelius once said, loss is nothing else but change, and change is nature's delight. By letting go, we allow ourselves to embrace change, to welcome new experiences, new people, new possibilities. Imagine a tree in the midst of autumn. Its leaves, once green and full of life, turn to shades of amber and crimson. Slowly, one by one, they drift away, carried by the cool breeze. Does the tree grieve for its leaves? Number. It knows that this shedding is necessary, that it must let go of the old to make way for the new. In the same way, we must learn to release what no longer serves us. Old habits, toxic relationships, past mistakes. By holding on, we only weigh ourselves down, preventing new growth. There is a profound emotional release in letting go. It's not about giving up or resigning yourself to fate. It's about freeing yourself from the chains of expectation and disappointment. It's about recognizing that the only constant in life is change, and the more we resist, the more we suffer. By letting go, we open ourselves to the present moment, to the beauty that exists in the now. We stop living in a past we cannot change or a future we cannot predict. We begin to see the world with fresh eyes, appreciating the simple joys, a sunset, a smile, a quiet moment of solitude. And what of love? We often believe that to love someone means to hold them close, to keep them forever. But true love, as the Stoics understood, is selfless. It is not about possession, but about appreciation. It is about recognizing the other person as a separate entity with their own journey, their own path. To love someone is to give them the freedom to be themselves, to grow, to change, to leave if they must. It is in this letting go that love finds its purity, its depth. We do not lose by letting go. We gain a deeper understanding of ourselves and of others. We learn that our worth is not defined by what we have or who we are with, but by our ability to love without attachment, to give without expecting in return. Letting go is an act of courage. It requires us to face our fears, the fear of being alone, of being vulnerable, of the unknown. But it is in this vulnerability that we find strength. We discover that we are more resilient than we ever imagined. We find that, stripped of all the things we thought we needed, we are still whole, we are still enough. And in that realization, we find a freedom that cannot be taken away, a peace that cannot be shaken, a happiness that is rooted deep within our soul. As you walk through life, remember the lessons of the Stoics. Embrace change, release what you cannot control, and trust that in the letting go, you will find all that you truly need. Because in the end, it is not about how much we hold on to, but how gracefully we let go. So how do you become happy alone? By realizing that you were never truly alone to begin with. You have your mind, your wisdom, your ability to create. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Nowhere you can go is more peaceful, more free of interruptions than your own soul." Happiness is not outside of you, it is within you. The moment you stop searching for it elsewhere is the moment you finally find it. So the next time you feel alone, remember, this is not loneliness. This is your greatest opportunity.